Welcome back to News First. An environmental activist and climate warrior from the Republic of the Marshall Islands spoke at the Bank of Guam Forum this morning to share the struggles of the island nation against climate change. Here's more from PNC's Luella Lucinio.
As a small island developing nation in the Pacific, the Marshall Islands has been in the spotlight for its efforts to fight climate change, from the local to the global policy arena. Selena Lim from the Marshall Islands recently worked as a youth representative at the permanent mission of the RMI to the United Nations in New York. Lim was born and raised in Majuro and credits her grandfather for her deep awareness of the increasing fate of her home through stories about how the Marshalls would be flooded. She moved to Germany at age 16 to finish high school, where she took on the role of climate change advocate for her country.
Because while the opportunities are rising for people of marginalized and vulnerable communities to speak themselves, tell their stories, the reach and the local, national, and global action that we need, not want, but need, is still a 2 meter above sea level too little to make the radical changes our home needs, 2 meter being the average height for Marshall Islands.
The Marshall Islands and other Pacific Island nations are vulnerable to rising sea levels, displacement, and other impacts of climate change. Recognizing the need to take action several years ago, more than 100 countries made a commitment at the 2015 UN Climate Change Conference in Paris to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius and to take national action to address climate change.
1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. The number that the Marshall Islands, along with other Pacific nations who are at the forefront of climate change, despite contributing the least to this climate crisis, fought valiantly for to be in the Paris Climate Agreement.
This is Luella Lucinio for PNC News First.
Lim was the youngest delegate at the 2015 Climate Change Conference. During the closing remarks, then RMI Foreign Minister, the late Tony DeBrum, gave her the opportunity to give the final statement on behalf of her country. In other news, the standards set by the Post Commission will be one of the biggest hurdles that the administration faces as it tries to bring new correction officers on board quickly. The Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission sets the standards for hiring and training, as well as the fitness standards for peace officers on Guam. Former Airport Police Chief Bob Camacho is the executive director of the Post Commission. Governor Leon Guerrero told reporters this week that she is working with him to streamline some of the requirements set by the Post Commission. Camacho told Pacific News Center that it is possible to waive some requirements and grant temporary certifications to those who have prior experience.
Only if you were a previous law enforcement officer, then you can, in other words, let's say you got out 5 years ago and you want to get back in, we can recertify you temporarily. You get 2 years, 1 or 2 years, depending on what the agency wants. And, to get up to speed.
Camacho said there are dozens of GPD reserve officers and part-time airport officers who might qualify for corrections officers under the temporary provision. However, he said those without any law enforcement experience starting from scratch would not qualify for temporary certifications as peace officers unless the law is changed. In other news, 2020 census organizers held yet another job fair again today at the Agana Shopping Center in search of anyone interested in an $18 an hour job. This was their 4th job fair since last month in an effort to fill more than 700 temporary positions. Enumerators are in high demand. These positions pay $18.64 an hour for up to 32 hours a week. Enumerators are the ones who actually do the head count. They have to conduct in-person interviews and list all housing structures they visit. Bureau of Statistics and Plans Director Tyrone Titano says they have already filled over half of the enumerator positions, but they want to get a pool of applicants larger than the number of jobs available because they anticipate a high attrition rate.
We know from historical experience 10 years ago that once you send these people out into the field, some of them decide, like working in the hot sun and all this other stuff, is not for them. In which case here, we are expecting a substantial attrition rate. So to prepare for that, we want to prepare a pool of applicants that we can fill in for those who decide to change their minds.
Jobs are still available even after today's fourth job fair. All applicants must have their own means of reliable transportation, and they may be required to work nights, weekends, and holidays. You also have to be a U.S. citizen, be 18 years of age or older, and pass an FBI background check. You can apply at the census office located inside Century Plaza in Tamuning. The dry, windy season is here for Guam, and this weekend may be a bit windier than usual as the National Weather Service has issued a small craft advisory. Trade winds will increase across the region tonight and through the weekend as a couple trade wind surges pass through. Stronger winds are found near and east of Wake Island and southward to the northern Marshall Islands. This will all shift toward the Marianas through early next week, with winds likely up to 25 knots, possibly higher by midweek.
If this system getting a little bit better organized, even maybe a tropical depression, we are talking about winds on Guam probably above 30 knots Wednesday and Thursday.
Thanksgiving and Friday could be very
Yep.
So hang on to the turkeys, right? Make sure they don't
right
blow
now we
away.
have a small craft, but if that happens, we probably have to issue a hazardous season warning or gale warning.
As a result of the strong winds and the duration of this wind event, hazardous seas and surf are expected. Seas and surf will build tonight across the Marianas from north to south. Seas could reach up to 10 feet across the Saipan and Tinian coastal waters by Saturday. Seas and surf will build through the weekend and into the next week. And coming up next, we'll have Destiny Cruz and Leo Payomo with your weather and sports, so stay tuned.
Hafa and happy Friday, Marianas. Welcome to your local weather forecast. I'm Destiny Cruz and thanks for tuning in. Well, we had a pretty might be day today as the sunshine prevailed over the Marianas. And speaking of might be, daytime temperatures rose to 88 degrees as heat index values hit 97. Thankfully, breezy east winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour and gusts up to 35 miles per hour in showers saved us from overheating. As we look ahead to tonight's weather, we can expect partly cloudy conditions, accompanied by some isolated showers. East winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour can be expected as evening lows reach 77. These weather patterns are expected to persist throughout tonight through Sunday night or Saturday night. And finally, we can look forward to more sunshine on Sunday as partly sunny skies accompanied by some isolated showers and thunderstorms prevail throughout the day. Daytime temperatures are expected to reach 87 degrees as evening lows reach the mid-70s. And that wraps up today's weather report. Have a great rest of your day and be sure to tune in next time for more updates. Adios!